squad, and suddenly they really look like a top-tier team. And this transformation, what you always hope for when you find a team's first match on the week, and Team EnVy going to hope that transformation is a positive. TSM hoping to shore up issues as they already are a strong team, and as picks and bans begin, Varus off the table, Camille as well.
Yeah, I find the Varus ban rather interesting because that's actually a champion that gets first picked a lot, and we've been talking about this patch with the lethality changes may actually be part of that OP3 that is Camille, Rengar, LeBlanc, but as soon as TSM decides to ban that on the blue side, they're almost prepping a first pick Kha'Zix because they don't want to trade any of those things back. We shall see if they have something else in mind, though.
And even that's interesting because depending on the team, Ivern is often on a very similar power level. So Jace is that other thing they have in mind as well, and has been a high prize champion. It's going to be the pickup as TSM have banned 2 tanks away to try to reduce the chance of a counter pick.
Yeah, and this could also very well be something that's pretty targeted at Seraph. He has had some pretty remarkable CS differentials in lane as Jace has not been able to transition those into victory, but Haunter has a good experience on Jace as far as getting those leads. Also kind of had the same problems of transitioning into victory, but I can understand why they would first pick it. It just comes at a pretty high cost as Ryze and Kha'Zix go over to EnVy.
Right, I mean, the premier champions not named Rengar and LeBlanc in those roles respectively, really. Jhin can be picked up as well, and there is the Ivern actually. So yeah, they decided that Ivern was close enough to Kha'Zix to be okay to trade. They will wait on mid lane though. TSM allow 2 more mid lane bans to come out from Team EnVy. I would expect the Red Squad to match bot laners, and that's going to be the Ashe pickup as a result.
Yeah, Ashe pickup makes sense to avoid getting target banned in that role if they're going to lock it in. Speaking a little bit more of that Ivern pick, we saw a very similar thing happen yesterday by Cloud9 in their match, where they were actually trying to give Kha'Zix over to Team Liquid, and they picked Graves, and then TSM picked Ivern anyways. So depending on the team, we are seeing some variation in what their tier list of junglers are. I feel like Ivern works exceptionally well in poke compositions, which if you already have Jace and Jhin, turns into a pretty strong poke comp. So measured plan, so to speak, from TSM, putting together the beginnings of a good poke comp.
Absolutely agree. We'll see if Corki can stay on the table as one of the champions we've seen often fitting along with it. Of course, you also know that Jace can be a flex pick, so if EnVy sits there and bans mid laners that go, just kidding, it's Bjergsen playing it, Haunter's playing Poppy after all. It was all a ruse. Zyra, just swap the letters around, it looks almost the same, but Zyra off the table, banned away. None of that coming in for Hakuho, who's been actually very good at the more damage-focused supports in the first place.
Yeah.
Off the table.
And EnVy has actually only won this year when Hakuho is on Zyra. He has 3 wins on that champion and 0 wins on other supports. So with that banned out,
Malzahar next up on the table. Also worth noting, Talon was banned. I assume that it feels more like a throwaway ban. I mean, Talon I think is, as far as solo queue is concerned, objectively pretty powerful, wins a lot of games, but unless you're going to play Talon top against Jace, which maybe is a counter pick, I doubt it.
I was going to mention that Talon is one of my favorite bans in solo queue because I really don't want that thing to take over game, but in pro play it's less likely. People are much better calling missing if he's roaming and parkouring over walls there and back.
Yeah.
It could be seen as a throwaway ban, but at the same time, I do think there's a chance if any team is going to pull it out, it would be EnVy. They have the last year they had the largest mid lane and top lane champion pools, and Talon can technically go in both of those roles. So looks like a throwaway, might not be based on some scrim intel.
Yeah, could be, but either way, Rumble is going to be the pickup, so it will be the Jace flexed overall. They said thanks for the 2 mid lane bans. We didn't really care as it was. Jace apparently feeling pretty good on a Ryze, and Rumble will be a blind pick top lane, as now Seraph gets to counter pick after seeing what the champion really is going toward. And Kennen, ooh, and I want to know what kind of Kennen it's going to be, especially in Korea. We've seen a lot of Hurricane on-hit attack speed-based Kennens, which is my bet for this. Yeah,
it's going to be the Wit's End fairly early. A lot of times they'll end up building a call. We have not gotten to see this Kennen in North America, despite me mentioning like 17 times in Champs, like they could go with the Kennen. Now we actually going to get to see Seraph going with it, and that's what I hope we see.
Yeah, going to be fun either way. Definitely going to be a powerful champion. The ultimate is still just as strong, and it's sort of worth noting if you're going for this sort of on-hit build, you think, oh, well, the spells are weaker, but Kennen didn't buy a ton of ability power in the early game anyway. He was often getting Doran's Blades and trying to bully the lane, so it's the super late game team fighting that gets weaker, but his mid game is actually just as strong as ever, and is an even better laner. It's part of the reason that build has gotten more popular. And the champ side, of course, is done. A pretty squishy lineup. on both these sides. No, I guess Kha'Zix is not really a tank for Envy, but there is a Taric and an Ivern to hold frontline for TSM. Rumble if he can it as well. So I guess to recap, differences in durability.
Yeah, and I think the durability advantage is on the side of TSM. I feel like one of the reasons Ivern finds success is not only is he good in poke comps, he can really help you win these squishy versus squishy matchups just because you have so many more supportive skills. I mean, you look at the TSM lineup with the Taric ultimate as well as the spammable Ivern shields that can come in. I think they have a much stronger level of cohesion in team fights.
Absolutely. So we'll see if the team fights work out or if Envy's split pushing power of the cannon's going to work out for him. The crowd's ready to get into the game. So are we. TSM versus Team Envy. Game 1 about to be underway. Let's get ourselves into the match. The players are ready and so are we. Game 1 begins.
Yeah, as we were talking about earlier, TSM coming in at 5-1. Envy coming in at 1-5. Obviously, Envy would like to reverse course on this season, but it is going to be tough as TSM has looked like they've had fairly steady improvement ever since their 0-2 loss to open the season against Cloud9.
It's absolutely true. Unfortunately, they've still been holding on to game losses, but at least they've closed out the series. TSM look to have Svenskeren hold the mid line, and it looks like no deep invades on either side, so it's going to be somewhat informationless. That I feel like it benefits the Ivern side of things because if you guess wrong, he instantly steals away one of your important camps. Often counter jungling him back is a bit harder. At some point, Sven will need to duck in a fog of war to try to hide where he's actually starting.
Very true. And I do actually think that even though later on in team fights, the Ivern is really effective since he can completely prevent the Kha'Zix from getting those executes due to the shielding. Early on, the Kha'Zix is pretty strong against Ivern because Kha'Zix can kill the solo buffs super quick, and we've even seen in the LCS the Kha'Zix guessing where the Ivern would be going for the second buff of the game and just killing him there. Because Ivern actually stays at level 1 much longer than other junglers since he generally channels his first 2 camps. That takes about 200 health out of his max pool, and then you can be a level 2 Kha'Zix sitting and waiting at that camp. This game though, unlikely to see any of that as Lyra probably just going to do a standard jungle route, and Svenskeren's not set up to counter that.
Yeah, it looks like there's not going to be much stolen away on either side. I do want to point out that Seraph is running for the % armor pen mastery. He's gone for Fervor of Battle, so this does make us think it's going to be the attack damage on hit style, and he's not going to get much ability power for himself. So, a sign of things to come. We can see, Sven doing a pretty standard camp. He channeled the blue, channeled the wolves, smites the red, channeled the raptors, and now he's probably going to go back towards his own blue and complete the clear.
Yep. He'll be able to generally click on wolves if he wanted to walk by it, but it depends. You can vary this route up in a couple of different ways, but pretty standard buff to buff clear for Ivern, as you said.
So camp 3 done for him. Lyra starting camp 3 himself, and it'll be a small edge of an XP lead for Svenskeren, but won't lead into too much necessarily. Looks like there's some on-the-way pings, and Sven's going to channel onto his Gromp and then try to steal Raptors away. Nope, I'm wrong. Wondering what the on-the-way pings were for, but so far he's... No, he is. I'm just watching the minimap, and yeah, he's just taking a different route. He was trying to dodge what could have been wards or could have been a Scuttle Crab, based on which way Lyra passed, and he's going to steal Raptors away as part of this path. Worth noting that your second smite comes in about 3 minutes into the game, and if you're playing Ivern, that's kind of the time you're looking to steal something away.
Meanwhile, Lyra trying to be a little bit sneaky here, hoping to catch Ivern in transit down towards Krugs. Lyra had pinged the Raptors of TSM about 15 seconds ago because he was expecting Svenskeren to actually be doubling back to those. Ends up missing out on the Raptors, but maybe they're looking to prep something down bottom since the Malzahar Ashe does have a push advantage early on the Taric Jhin, but it'll be really tough to dive a turret this early on in the game.
They haven't done a lot of damage either. Wild Turtle pretty healthy. You know that Biofrost is going to have the chance to shield and heal him, and they can ping out, hey, Lyra took away my Krugs. He could be there right now. You don't know for sure. And now that Brushmaker, right, over the wall, long range, and now they're going to try to jump Lyra. Gets away in time.
Yep, able to leap away, was disciplined, and had leap skilled up at level 3, as well as didn't use it for damage in the jungle. Those can be very tempting to do sometimes as Kha'Zix, but the professional player makes the logical play.
Yes, they do. But you're right. I think we've all had that moment where we use our escape for the jungle camp and go, oh, my bad. Well, recapping some of the lanes right here. Small top lane lead for Seraph. Fighting the bot lane. Wild Turtle silence as well. Good chunk. And Aqua making the right choice of trying to harass the bot laner as opposed to the tank support. And denies Turtle, I think, a minion or two as the result of him running away. Back in they go. 4-minion lead, small one for Envy. They're hoping to find the way in on Bjergsen, who goes in for the trade, and suddenly there is a Kha'Zix exhaust used right away. Bjergsen running with Storm Raiders, and that's going to get him away just barely. Yes, he will slink away. The flash, the E, he's going to get him with the Q. Nicely done by Ninja. That was beautifully played to get that one to come through. Then going to land the root. Nicely skill shotted. The 1-for-1 gets the trade kill. Advantage Envy. Lyra really wants him. Can't quite get it. And this is now really dangerous. He's out of cooldowns. Svenskeren, he's got to be careful. Oh, Svenskeren gets him in the end. For the Candy Cane Kingdom. Svenskeren is king. Salutations to you.
One of the knocks on Ivern is his pathetic early game damage. So when you get a double kill that early, it feels real good as Ivern. We're going to watch this one more time. Yep, both mid laners have the exhaust flash. Bjergsen just jumps in. They did not have the right warding, and this is a pretty good punish here by Envy. I didn't know if Ninja wanted to flash in since it's going to leave him really low, and they didn't have the vision onto Svenskeren. Here, he wants to flash to get the shield damage. That's actually what ended up killing him, even though he had landed the root collar. And here, I think this is pretty inexcusable by Lyra, actually. Even if he lands the W, I still don't think it's enough damage since Svenskeren is sitting at about 100 health. And here it's just root collar into another auto smack right as Lyra was winding up his Q. But, oh man, that is the mentality of an Ivern player. Just laughing.
You died to me. That's hilarious. And Svenskeren sets the record for all-time Ivern kills in League of Legends history. And he looks happy about this one. Sound effects are amazing.
Yep, and that's a nice counter jungle as well. Whenever you have extended fights as Ivern, it usually syncs up very well with some jungle invades since you get to just channel for 2 seconds and then take the camp entirely. Notice the cooldown boots rushed by Svenskeren as well. That's more beneficial on Ivern than you would think since it lowers the cooldown of his smite since it's a summoner spell, and that really enhances his counter jungling.
Absolutely going to be something that's important for him if you can keep Lyra down. Of course, Kha'Zix very gold scaling. Quick shield comes in, not a lot of damage out of Ninja this one. And he's going to jump in for the trade run again. Of course, they know Lyra's nearby. It pulls the teleport out of Seraph. And yeah, he's going to cancel that for good measure. They did get too far away. That still felt premature to even channel it at all.
Yeah, making sure to get the cooldown back, but I agree with you. Kind of wasted. It means Haunter now has the teleport advantage for 2.5 minutes. We were correct about the build path for Seraph, however. He does go Cull for the extra sustain and also rushes the Negatron Cloak. That makes it very difficult for Haunter to push him out, and Seraph mainly just going for lane pressure with this build. It's not an exceptional team fighting build, but it is mainly a split push pressure build that can scale decently in the middle lane.
Absolutely. There we go, 6, and I believe that was actually Lyra evolving Spike Racks. Yeah, so
we saw this.
Double check to make sure.
Yeah. This is happening, happened earlier today, actually, in the game we just saw. I forget who was playing Kha'Zix that did this, but it happened earlier today in North America.
Yeah. Moon?
So, yeah, it was Moon. Didn't actually evolve Q until level 16. The massive amount of utility you get from being able to slow from range with your W.
Yeah.
And if you're isolating them anyway, a lot of these guys are deciding that cooldown reduction just might not be worth it. Interesting change, as we've really seen a lot of variation in Kha'Zix evolves.
Yep.
As long as they're not evolving the ultimate. Everything else has variation.
And it is worth noting for those unaware, we are still playing on 7.2 here in Pro Play, so the nerf on Evolved Q hasn't gone in for these games. The running theory is that the pros tried new stuff because when they play solo queue it is 7-3 and said, you know what, this is good all the time anyway. Again, a trade in the mid lane, and Ninja gonna get rooted up several times. Here comes Curtain Call. I don't think there's any way out of this one. Wild Turtle claims the kill credit. Shows up to mid and says 300 gold is mine. Back to bot lane we go.
And so much of that should be credited to the bottom lane because that gank doesn't actually work if it's just Ivern and the Jace. Landing that deadly flourish to set up the rest of the kill was incredibly clutch, and they really punished Ninja for already being down the flash, but we do have to track that he's going with the retro Rise build. Look at that.
Whoa! That is super old school. Frozen Heart Rush against the double marksman team. The thing is, Rumble still will have meaningful damage in team fights, but that is definitely atypical.
Yeah, I actually haven't done the math lately on the Rise, but the Frozen Heart build was good maybe 2 reworks ago. I actually haven't seen any Rise do this Frozen Heart in my experience. Maybe it's happened and people on Twitter can correct me, but this looks like it's going to be really low on damage for quite a while, since Rise has a little bit of mana scaling, but it's still heavily AP scaling in these iterations if he actually wants to get that machine gun damage down.
Right, all the spells have just strict mana ratio as well as strict AP ratios, and then buying ability power just increases your mana. That's how his passive works. But again, you're right, math would have to be done to know if Frozen Heart's even close to what a Rod of Ages would do, but it certainly cuts down to some of his scaling. He'll be skipping Rod of Ages, I would expect, with the build. Maybe he goes Hextech GLP and, you know, it balances out in the end, but we'll have to see if it's potentially just genius and it's supposed to be correct against the kind of champions he's fighting.
Yeah, well, I mean, even just thinking about these laning phases, they're really picking heavily to survive/win lane. Big armor item picked by their mid laner against the Jace, who's a physical damage, and a big MR item picked by Seraph in the Negatron cloak. We'll see, though, if it's actually able to get them ahead, because Svenskaren's been ahead of the game in these ganks.
It is worth noting when you're against lethality using champions, armor is an even better stat than it was before. So, you know, in the world where this is a balanced build, this is actually a better build when you're against Jhin Jace specifically. And maybe that slightly raises the stock. It'd be even better if there's a Kha'Zix in the jungle, but still, it does make sense based on his opponents.
And we're seeing a lot of these Jaces just not even build Black Cleaver anymore because you're trying to rush those lethality items to kill the squishies. Could work in that context as well. Akaho just has to tank it up.
Does it well enough. Okay. Apollo stays alive. Ulti down. Wild Turtle to recap down 13 minions in this lane. I gotta say, Hakuo and Apollo have done a good job of getting the harass in and pushing their opponents around. The one Wild Turtle kills, of course, him roaming up to mid, but that's not exactly EnVy's bot lane's fault. Unless it was a communication error, but that's maybe a bit of a stretch. Svenskeren wants to be on the top side, and Hansar is starting to do well with the push. He's only down 4 minions.
Notice this play as well. You just put Daisy down. The turret targets Daisy, and the minions stay alive for the reduction. But here comes a dive bot.
And they're unaware that Ninja left the lane, so early damage into Biofrost turns invincible, and that's going to buy him enough time to push them back out. So Biofrost timely ulti. First turret comes down to the top side, and Envy got nothing for this. They're going to try again. Though. The TP was canceled, which means Wild Turtle's definitely gone. I don't know why they didn't run left in the first place, but walked back into his turret, and Wild Turtle died for it.
Yeah, the beginnings of a nice play. Feel like they could have prevented that, but they're still going to go for an extended turret trade. Notice how Daisy still tanking turret shots until it gets low. Beautiful micro of it right there. Shield it.
Oh, sadly. Yeah.
Even so, look at the turret damage they're getting. While they still have full health of their turret down bot side. Since they didn't get the turret, not worth the trade. TSM either should have backed off during the initial channel of the teleport, or Hansar should have completed the channel, since they would have still traded the turret top lane for nothing, and then they wouldn't have had to suffer the casualties.
Yeah, sadly, Wild Turtle got the wrong opinion when they said pushing daisies. They meant they're pushing top, don't just get yourself killed, but unlucky for him. Svenskeren and Lyra now in a battle for the Raptor Pit. Rise wants to show as well. He's going to flash the wall. Oh, Bjergsen snipes off Lyra and the Raptors as well. Exhaust now and a Ninja. Hako coming to support that. Ulti is down, though. It just means it's slow and a bit of damage. Bjergsen walking away.
That was all of the damage that he needed to kill Lyra with. I feel like that was very slim margins of actually getting the kill, but because Svenskeren was down Daisy, Lyra knew he could get the isolation, but now that's a 2-level gap between Svenskeren's Ivern and Lyra's Kha'Zix. So Lyra's definitely not pulling off successful moves. This should at least burn his flash.
Flash down, the flash and chase. That's going to be the kill picked up solo for Hansar. The early work was done by his teammates. No assist to go over. Now mid lane under fire. Sven jumps the wall and gets over to his team.
Yeah, and even though Ninja's gone with that Glacial Shroud and now Frozen Heart, that is still no durability against Hansar, so he was a piece of paper, actually less tanky than he would have been with the Rod of Ages build as he gets turret dove right there.
Biofrost right clicks, goes into melee range, just kidding, didn't want to be here. Runs back out, tanky enough to be alright with it, but this is TSM wedging in a 1,600 gold lead, up 3 kills, up a turret. And Envy with their one saving grace being good early game, even that's not going well.
Also just to confirm, at least in the LCS, this is the first Frozen Heart we've seen on Rise this split. Not too surprising there. Also the first Wits End Kennen, I believe. So Envy trying to be innovators, but this is actually very disconcerting for Envy because they've gone with these 2 fairly lane builds, the armor stacking Rise against the Jace. The Frozen Heart's supposed to be good in teamfights, although I don't feel like Jace and Jhin are so much auto attackers as they are just physical damage users. And then the Wits End top lane to try and outlane the Rumble, yet they're not actually even winning those matchups. So when it does come to the teamfight phase where TSM is already more cohesive, it seems like they're set up for success.
Yeah, I agree. This is just looking better and better for TSM right now. Almost 2,000 up as they look for a little bit more to do. Svenskeren level 10. We'll see how long he can keep that 2-level difference over Lyra, who is so incredibly underleveled. In top tier play, usually a jungler will be somewhere between a mid laners or any solo laners level and maybe the bot lane carry. But he is just tied with the bot laner, and that is very below average. You look at for Svenskaren's level, and that's more what you expect to see in top level jungling. Looking for the blue buff now. Brushmaker lets him know Hakuho is around, but no one's starting blue just yet. And we'll see if TSM can make more happen here. Looking at bot lane Outer, and of course the fact that Sven is around has zoned Apollo and Hakuho away. First going to lose some HP until reinforcements arrive, and now they feel good enough with no minion wave. They can get a bit done. Sarah finally finds something nice to do, and his pressure pays off on the top side. Sadly for him, Svenskeren took away first turret gold with his roam the top lane, but at least Seraph's hard work is paying off to some degree. He's got a 30 minion lead.
Yeah, and you have to wonder where the rest of this transition goes. Both top laners still have teleport, and TSM putting huge pressure down on the bottom side. Slash at Drake. Looks like Envy wants to fight.
Ooh, he's going to take some damage. Stun's going to land. How quickly can he turn invincible? Okay, in time, but here comes Seraph, and they're going to want into this one. How much can they get onto Svenskeren? Heals with redemption. Bjergsen now across the wall. Big stun's coming across. Equalizer right onto Hakuho. A lot of damage across. Bjergsen is low. Can they get the kills? Yes, one for Apollo. Going to trade back onto Seraph. Not quite going to get him yet. Apollo with 2. The stun's going to finally get them 1 kill. They've taken out Ninja.
Where's the shots?
To get away. The shots are all going to get onto Apollo. He tried to dodge and couldn't do it. Looks like that's a 2 for 2 on this fight, as TSM have grouped up in the river and won't find anyone else to kill. And this gold is now within 400.
Yeah, and at the beginning of that fight, it was the right time for Envy to engage because they had the level 11 Kennen against a level 10 Rumble, so the ultimates were very different in their power level. Envy started off this fight relatively well, but it goes to show how difficult it actually is to finish off the Taric and the Ivern. Notice they go for Svenskeren, they get the invulnerability in time, and then Svenskeren's complete the redemption, so a lot of healing coming in right off the bat. But Hantu comes in really far in the back with his teleport and is a little late with that equalizer, so Bjergsen goes in to finish. He gets taken down. TSM ends up chasing through fog for a few kills, gets taken down again, and then because they still had that turret to fall back to, they're able to get out a little bit. I feel like Apollo probably could have just walked out of Jin alt range, but wasn't too sure about it, and 2 kills get traded back for TSM.
It was definitely close. I know he was looking to juke and couldn't quite do it, but you're right. There's a chance that that could have done something. I saw Hakuho try to summon a Voidling to block, but it doesn't block the Jin ultimate. It was a nice attempt, buddy, but yeah, only not even Deadly Flourish will get stopped, so didn't mean much. But yes, this means the game is back to close. So 500 gold difference is definitely workable. Team Envy have done a good job of catching back up. Again, I got to give a lot of props to specifically the bot lane of Apollo and Hakuho and Sarah for their farm leads individually. TSM, though, regrouping to the river first, and that's going to be a, looks like uncontested Ocean Drake. And there it goes. Good smite by Svenskeren. And that's more regen.
So still a solid early game for Svenskeren, and now that the gold is exactly equal with the turrets also being matched. I want to talk a little bit more about Envy's actual win conditions, since we've done a lot to say TSM is better in team fights. Essentially, I actually do like Envy's team composition here because they have the strong split push threat in the Kennen, and then a really good pick composition on the rest of the team. They have the map movement they can get from the Realm Warp on Rise, then they have Ash Arrow and Malzahar ultimate to hopefully pick someone off on TSM. So if they can put the team play together, everything does actually make a lot of sense for Envy.
We'll see if they can do that. We've seen that definitely the Seraph flank can look really good. His split pushes look pretty good as well. And if these things can come together, Envy can find the keys to success. Game's still close to Lyra level 10, closer and closer to matching with what Svenskeren has. Only the 1 level deficit now. Apollo and Hakuho back to the bot lane, of course. With the bot lane turrets not dying, they're just in longer landing assignments until those can actually be broken.
Yeah, I'm expecting Svenskeren to continue to force the issue right here, since they are kind of a poke competition with Ivern. You set up the brush and just go right at turrets and force the other team into fighting.
Ooh, Rude onto Ninja, flashed in line with the shock blast, but looks like teammates were maybe close enough. They didn't want to chase. TSM felt they did not have the cooldowns to push through. That is at least flashed down from Ninja.
Yeah, and TSM want to force Envy into these situations where they have to burn the Ash Arrow or run down from the top lane, because the more TSM pulls Envy towards them, the better the poke comp that has good team fighting aspects can work, and the less the split push can threaten, and therefore diminishing the chances the TSM get picked off.
See if they can keep doing that. Apollo, of course, is going for the more cooldown-focused build, so those arrows will come up sooner than if he went Infinity Edge Rush. Both viable builds, just different choices to make. Envy actually is holding the slightest of gold lead for the first time in about 17 minutes. And a red buff will go over to, I would guess, Turtle in the near future.
Gonna walk by and pick that up right now.
Yep, he's got it.
and the siege continues. While Kennen is not here, he's got about 5 seconds left on that teleport, so EnVy will want to fight this, but it looks like TSM's got the turret.
Nicely done. All right, turret number 2 versus number 1 means a small gold lead, but yeah, EnVy are, it seems like because TSM have to group up so much more, EnVy get kind of more dibs on minion kills, and I mean, when you're down 3 kills in a turret and the gold difference is 300, they're clearly out farming.
Yeah, and a lot of that is now on the Kennen, not to mention, I believe he fully stacked a call and then sold it back, so that's going to add to about 450 to the overall gold totals as well.
That's fair.
And that's what I'm expecting to see a lot out of this game, and it's going to be about how clean can these guys play. TSM, as we mentioned, has been looking better since their early games, but so is EnVy, because EnVy looked miserable early on in the year, and then did have a small bit of resurgence last week by beating Team Liquid pretty handily, and then had the unlucky matchup of C9 right as they begin to get momentum, so they looked pretty poor in that series. Definitely wanted to bounce back here, and if Seraph can pull off some 1v1s, that would be a big start.
Got plenty of magic resistance. Hanser, of course, can't run away from the frozen mallet. The flash means nothing. Redemption buys a bit of time, and it's just enough for Bjergsen to show up to keep him alive, but that is so much lost. You got to imagine Seraph, it's going to look better and better for him as time goes on.
Absolutely, and that would have been a kill had it not been for the Ivern redemption from what looked like close to max range. Pretty clutch there by Svenskeren to keep him alive, as Seraph's trying to put his stamp on this game.
Yeah, Paulo wasn't sure he was going to live through that fourth shot. I'm not either. That's just full HP, gen presses R. So, unlucky for Apollo there, and losing a flash, or losing a heal, sorry.
Yeah, and this is the threat of the Kennen with Frozen Mallet and Wit's End. Stacks up his MR to make it really difficult for Hanser to fight back, and then also has the Frozen Mallet to eliminate the mistakes. He was really hoping to get the stun post-flash, but Hanser was able to flash out immediately, and we're into a fight.
Into a fight with Lyra running out of HP. Bjergsen getting the kill on a Hakuho, and now the slow comes in for Hanser. That's a double kill quickly picked up for the TSM mid laner, and a solo kill for Bjergsen and the cleanup after. 2-0, TSM with control.
Yeah, would love to see how that one started, because EnVy should not be in positions to get caught in fights away from turrets and away from objectives while Seraph is split pushing. That goes completely against what their strategy should be, and this transitions immediately into one of Ivern's perfect plays. You put the brush in the Baron pit, and they can't see the Baron.
Can't do much about it. There's not much they can do. Seraph flashless as well. No chance to steal. Okay, maybe there's a chance he can Q it. Has to guess, and wow, not even with Smite available. There was the chance for the Shuriken to steal, but would have had to been a blind guess, and Seraph didn't even try.
Yeah, so a big miss there by EnVy, and they're just going up for forward wards while they have 2 members in side lane. So just bad timing on that move, and TSM just kind of walked through with Acceleration Gate to pick up a few kills. Clutch teleport in by Hanser at the end to land the 1 harpoon that allows TSM to roll in on the kill. Then they know exactly what to do with that advantage, but have to reiterate, EnVy should not have been going up there in the first place with 2 of their players trying to push sideways.
Yep, absolutely the case. So, big mistake there, and EnVy losing Baron as a result of it. TSM now with all the tools needed to win. Ninja, okay, he's going to realm warp out. I don't think he was actually seen.
They might see him now.
He thought he got spotted by the trap,
no.
and now here comes a TP flank, actually. It's Seraph wanting in. This is, oh, no, he cancels. Now Ninja's really caught alone. He does have flash. He's going to not dodge the shock blast. He's dead for this one. Picked off. He was surrounded anyway. Svenskeren on the other side of the wall. That, he actually could have recalled. He thought he was caught, and then he was caught as a result of casting the ultimate.
And this is really going to accelerate this game for TSM, because this is exactly what they are set up to do. Baron buff with Ivern and the poke comp, and they've already gotten a pick, so it is a 2 to 3 man defense as Seraph is continuing to split push. This is going to be the inhibitor if Seraph doesn't come back right now, and even if he does, he might not be able to stop him.
A really good chance TSM just take down a lot of the base right here. In they go. Look at the curtain call damage. Hakuho would die in one more shot. What a play by Turtle. He waits or predicts the flash. I'd have to tell again, but that was beautiful. That's the turret, the kill, the inhibitor gone as well. TSM taking an arm, leg, and almost the entire body. And in fact, they're going for the head, shooting for the weak point. Nexus turret number 1 going to go down. Lyra waste leap to go back to the fountain.
They're going to keep going. The turret's on Hanser, who's invulnerable. They're going to try and end.
Redemption heal is in. There comes the HP back in, about 2,000 in total. And now they're ready for the Nexus. A big stun comes out for Seraph. Kites away. Lyra on the wings. Can't get anything done. 2 for 0 on that fight. Make it 3. Make it the last 2 champions. The Nexus as well. TSM finally finds a way to win game 1. And it's in 24 minutes in convincing fashion over Team EnVy.
Yeah, I believe that makes it the fastest game of the split thus far. Hanser just throws off his headset. It's done, and it was a little mistake by EnVy. followed by some bigger mistakes by Envy, and that turned into an incredibly quick win by TSM.
Well, that's going to be heartening for TSM to know they can make some better plays like that and actually convincingly win some games. There were points where Envy had a gold lead. The first 19-20 minutes ended up being a bit close, but certainly TSM did a great job of finding out how to close that out. 2 picks, they said, okay, we picked off the jungler, we picked off the support, put 'em minutes or not, let's rush a Baron. Chance to steal super, super low, and yeah, 5 turrets and a Nexus later, the game's over.
And unfortunately for Envy, the things we talked about in the pregame with lacking vision control and not having the good macro play were completely evident in that game. They had picked a specific team composition that needed to be played in a specific way, and they went against that, even though they were even in the mid game. So pretty big misplays there by Envy and an immediate punish by TSM.
And the punish, of course, very, very good. Talking about, as you said, playing the composition properly, one of the tenets I've heard from top players is pressure leads into vision. You actually have to have the lanes pushed up, then you can drop the wards kind of near where you put the minion waves in. And you know, the pick that led to Baron was like a bunch of people face checking through the river into the jungle.
Without pressure.
Right, without pressure anywhere. And yeah, TSM just collapses with 5 from all sides. You've got to actually make Kennen pull someone over first before that can even happen.
Yeah, exactly. And even getting into that spot, if we're going to kind of go back to the beginning of this game, Svenskeren did have a good start in the mid lane. And I do kind of want to question the build later, but we're going to see the final push first, since they had already killed Ninja, who, by the way, was a very defensive build. The flash predict on the final shot from Wild Turtle is also super critical, because that's the Malzahar ultimate, and one of their greatest anti-pushing tools down, since you can just spam the silence there. And having Daisy as well as Taric for this final push allows them to tank up these turrets a little bit more. Ninja doesn't do any damage. He's got Frozen Heart Spirit Visage as his build. And Apollo also can't shoot through the front line. Like the timing on Biofrost's ultimate, to be completely honest. Then they just sit on the redemption to make sure they get the final heal. So Envy's just kind of piling in. Seraph, we mentioned, is a split pushing Kennen, not a team fighting Kennen. So TSM just knew exactly what to do with this lead. Hakuho comes right back up, goes right back down. Just like a series of unfortunate events for sure for Envy, but you can't completely discredit TSM, who took that game from what was even at 18 minutes to what was over 6 minutes later.
Yeah, so I mean, that is definitely some compelling play by them, to be completely honest about these guys. And there's definitely points where it's got to feel bad for Team Envy, because I thought their bot lane did very well. They were up CS, they had turret pressure, they even got that 1 kill on Turtle when they pulled the teammates down for the dive. You had Seraph individually, who was at some points up 30 minions or more over his lane opponent. He lost first turret because he got ganked, whereas Lear was just like MIA the entire game. A lot of that can be due to Svenskeren, of course, but disappointed in Lyra, disappointed in Ninja pretty heavily.
Yeah, and Ninja definitely had a very poor performance. I question that build. I'm going to do some math later to see how much damage a Frozen Heart Spirit Visage Tier Rise does, because I don't think it's very much. But the problems aren't about that. It is just about the team play for Envy. Don't want to take the credit away from TSM. We talked about them needing to get a 2-0. They're expected to win this 5-1 versus 1-5. Having a 24-minute and 7-second win, even though they didn't look too pleased just in the recap right there because the game was close for so long. They should be happy about the fast win.
Yeah, we'll see if Envy can, of course, bounce back. I mean, a double kill start to the jungler, right, is always going to be a scary situation, whereas Svenskeren just gets 700 gold for free and goes, all right, well, now I'm the biggest champion in the map. Let me start imposing my will. And that, you can extrapolate that as maybe the reason why Lyra is now caught down. Smite's on a lower cooldown, you can take more of the camps. Maybe Lyra doesn't have a chance to catch up. Maybe he can't 1v1 the Ivern, right? If Bjergsen has pressure the whole time. You know, there's a lot of ways you can start spilling this forward and say, there really wasn't something Lyra could do. And again, if I go back and look at the VOD and only look at Lyra, only look at Svenskeren, maybe that really is the case, that Sven was just that far ahead of him.
Yeah, and I do want to just call a bit of attention to these TSM huddles, because this is a pretty consistent thing. Parth is the coach for this team, but it very much feels like Reginald is super involved and still the coach of this TSM League of Legends team this year. Most of these post games is Reginald hitting on the mistakes, Reginald telling them what to do next, and everyone just kind of sitting around and listening. It's much different than the TSM we have seen last year, maybe when they had Weldon in there who was doing a lot of the speaking, and it's kind of again turning into Reggie's show.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, though, is when it becomes Reggie's show, it tends to work. I mean, when Reggie helmed TSM, they were nigh undefeatable. Finally, C9 came in and dethroned them. At TSM were like the best in North America for like 4 years straight. And then when TSM had like the really deplorable season about a year back, Reggie's like, I'm going to fix it all, and, you know, starts busting heads and cracking whips, and TSM makes finals again. So you know, whether it is unorthodox or not, like, the Reggie formula actually does work.
Yeah, and their pick and ban in last game, I do actually like being able to put together such a cohesive poke composition, and they did play it quite well. Like, the way Sven Skaren roamed across the map, getting the right pushes for Ivern is almost a clinic on how you should be playing that type of team composition. Go to whatever lane has a little bit of pressure, since it actually wasn't the Kennen lane that was up against the Rumble, and just continually force the other team to fly into you over and over again. It forces mistakes, and I did like that from TSM.
Yeah, if you bite off more than you can shoot, well, I'm going to reach you in turret range, I'm going to shield up the damage, suddenly Daisy's tanking, and I agree. I thought Sven played very, very well. Lyra, we'll see if we can get more out of him in the next one, but after our break, we're going to see if EnVy can regroup and take the second game, or take a game, I should say, against TSM. Don't touch that browser. The NALCS will be back right after this.